welcome. So today on C12, I have Zoli Honig with me of Chalkable, and I'm going to actually let him sort of take the reins pretty shortly here, because I think he can probably explain a little more about Chalkable than I can. I've followed Chalkable, at least peripherally, for a while now, but it's really evolved into something pretty spectacular. So why don't you tell me a bit more about Chalkable?
Sure. So we started Chalkable because we found that there were amazing learning tools available online, but they weren't being used in the classroom. Tools like Biodigital Human or even Khan Academy. I was literally sitting in a classroom the other week with 3 teachers, and I said, "Hey, do you guys know what Khan Academy is?" And they're like, "I don't know," which is shocking. Like, you and I are like, "What do you mean they don't know what Khan Academy is?" But yeah, like I would say a nice chunk of teachers and students in America are not using the amazing tools that they could. So we looked at the space and we said, why is that, right? So we broke it down into 3 main reasons. The first being discovery, right? It's really hard to find these tools and teachers just don't have the time. The second problem is payment, because even if you found this tool, paying for it is usually such a pain in the neck. Schools work with purchase orders and online credit cards are required. So there's a huge gap and schools are really trying to figure out how that's going to work. And the third and most important problem is the experience. Because even if you found this really great tool and you figured out how you're going to pay for it, the experience is always lousy. Because as a teacher, you're using email to manage it, which is 30 emails out and back, which is just insane to manage. That's per assignment. It doesn't interface with your student information system, and it's usually a separate gradebook and a separate username and password that you and your students have to remember, and you're dealing with class codes. It's a total mess. Unless you're a complete genius or do IT on the side, you are not using more than one tool in your classroom, right?
Exactly.
So how can we fix this? So we built Chalkable, and Chalkable is an app store for school and a platform to make those apps work. Because just an app store isn't enough. You really need a great platform for the apps to integrate. So the App Store is a curated list of the best educational web apps, tools from Class Dojo to Khan Academy, everything in between. And those apps deeply integrate with the Chalkable platform, which I guess you could call a learning management system, which I don't like to call it, but just because it has a stigma. But we're essentially a learning management system, and we're a front end for your school. So we sync with your student information system. We pull in all the student data, and we think that a teacher needs assigning homeworks, gradebook, attendance, discipline, student profiles. We give the admin analytics. We have a parent login, teacher login, student login, and administrator. And the idea is once you have everyone on one core system, you can then bring in the apps. Because if the apps are in a separate environment, you're never going to use them.
Right.
So we say one interface to log into everything, get third-party developers to build amazing apps, and it's just a great experience.
That's awesome, because, you're absolutely right. I noticed on your website, yep, we take purchase orders, and that's really so critical. There's so many teachers who can't explore these things because they simply don't fall into the procurement framework that most budget bean counters are really able to deal with. So that's a much needed, not to mention sort of the one LMS, if you will, to rule them all, to be able to bring that together. Now, so your LMS then supports ultimately single sign-on to these apps, right?
Yeah, so it's not just single sign-on, but because when you have a teacher, just because you log into them doesn't really help them very much. We do some really interesting things. Since we have this whole learning management platform, and we have all the student information and really great data on them, like attendance and discipline, we have APIs that our developers can tap into. So besides for the fact that when a teacher clicks install, chooses their English 9H class, it provisions accounts for everyone, which is just blows your mind right away. You can do some really cool things and then push it back all the way to the student information system, which is functionality that the simple developer who's building, just kind of any type of app wouldn't necessarily do. But because it's all easy to use APIs and it's all the same thing, it doesn't really make a difference to them. So it's really easy for an app to fit seamlessly into a school environment, and we want to make that work.
So are people basically developing for your app store, or are they able to develop somewhat generic apps that then just tie in through your APIs?
So we are not asking people to develop specifically for our platform. There are existing web apps today that can be easily adopted into the Chalkable platform. Because if you think about the basic educational app that you're using, let's say it's a content-based app, the main views you're going to have is a teacher view where you're filtering down the content to find the content that you want. Then, you click send and you send that to your students. Then the students have to receive that little piece of content that the teacher picked out for you, interact with it, whatever that may be, and then they have to send that back to the teacher. The teacher needs a grading view, and the teacher can view that and enter grades. And then there's going to be a summary view usually, which is going to have a summary of all responses and analytics on the homework and just high-level stuff. So in Chalkable, we give you a framework to put all of these pieces of the puzzle together. And the teacher knows where everything is because it's the same UI for every single app. And we work with iframes, so you don't have to recode anything really. It's just working with the APIs. Typical developers, if you want to go with like simple functionality, just like launch and ready, that's kind of instant. But if you want to have a really deep integration with the product, that's a couple of days, maybe a week of work, and it's a distribution channel that runs itself. So developers are really excited about it. But
absolutely,
what we can offer, which a lot of other players can't, is that we can tell developers, hey, you're going to get paid for your apps. How do we do that? So we tell our schools right away, we're not a free product, we're not freemium. We charge $10 per student per year. Why? We provide a lot of value to your school. Real-time attendance, grading, analytics. So superintendents, that we've spoken to have been like, whoa, this is Salesforce for my school. And they're willing to pay for it.
Right.
They came up with that, not me. So, once they sign up, they have this $10, but we take $5 of that and immediately push it to an app budget. So there's money in the bank to be spent on apps that an administrator can push out to teachers, to students, parents if he wants, hold it all for himself. But there's literally actual money sitting in a bank waiting to be spent on apps.
Nice.
That is a clear differentiator between us and a lot of the other players, and because apps are really core. And once you have to have a teacher put in a request to an administrator and add money and blah blah blah, it's never going to happen. Unless it's there on day one and it's a required part of the system, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. So, just out of curiosity, because most developers and IT and computer science folks you talk to don't actually have a clue about how that education piece works and how schools work. So what's your background in this?
Yeah. So myself, I've been coming off of 6 years of IT, basically since I graduated high school, through college and things like that, and that has been through every single IT scenario you can imagine: schools, enterprise, private homes. So you learn a lot that way.
Right.
And my co-founder, he's actually coming from a consumer electronics background. He worked on this 2 products in college, so he's got a lot of experience under his belt as well. But mostly we were both frustrated students, right? So we were both in college. I was in NYU Poly, and he was in YU, and we were using Blackboard and Angel, and we were just like, this is terrible. Why is it so bad? And, we're using Gmail and Dropbox and all these amazing tools. And we're like, why aren't our professors using this? Why do we have to log into a million things? And we were just really frustrated.
Right.
So, we started playing around with mock-ups in a little bit. And we actually walked into the local, public school. We live around the same area. And we walked into the back office and, said, hey, we're local residents. We want to show you what we're working on. And it was just mock-ups at this point. And they're like, that is fantastic. Where's the admin interface? And we're like, we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. We spent 6 months of just research and development, mock-ups, sitting in the school back office, seeing what their pain points are, what's broken in schools. Basically, when you walk into any school back office, what we found is they just have Excel open all day long, and they're just making sure the data's right everywhere, which is just like a complete mess. We went in and we're like, we want to get rid of all this. We're going to do everything. And basically everyone told us, like, never going to happen. So, okay, took a step back. And we're like, okay, student information system, you're never going to replace. Why? This one technology director that we spoke to, he said, God himself could call me tomorrow and say, use Chalkable for everything. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it because it's too much work. So instead we said, hey, how about replacing the student information system? We'll leverage that data.
Right.
When you sign up, all the data just flows in using different technologies depending on the student information system. And then coming soon, we're actually going to start pushing back the data. So as a tech director, you don't have to think about that one problem that takes up all your time. No data reconciliation. It just works.
Nice. Now, is that all happening through CIF, or you're just exporting and importing? How's that working?
CIF,
I know it's kind of a dirty word, but...
So we looked at CIF for quite a while.
Yeah.
We built a lot of our database based on the CIF structures, but no one actually uses it. And if they do, you need to have a ZIS server, and then it has to be CIF compliant, and then you have to have the token, and then there's API, and then this. It's not a viable solution. So we have our other methods, which unfortunately I can't tell you right now, but it's pretty seamless for an administrator. You come to Chalkable, you click sign up, and within 2 minutes, we start syncing in your data. Well, 2 minutes to 72 hours, depending on your system, because you never know what a school database can look like. We've seen some pretty crazy things.
Disasters, yeah.
Numbers and address fields and just parents and students fields, just because that's the way to do it in schools.
Sure, right. That's great. I mean, that really is a pretty incredible thing, because so few things are seamless in schools. So if you can, whatever magic you've worked behind the scenes, congratulations. So did you want to take a few minutes and talk about maybe a few things that are coming up that you're really excited about, or things that you've just announced? Just give me the highlight reel.
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm sitting in Mountain View, even though we're a New York City company. We're participating in the current batch of 500 startups, which is a great incubator run by Dave McClure. So we have demo day coming up tomorrow, actually, which is pretty exciting. So we're putting together our seed round of funding. So we'll have a nice amount of runway, can hire a bunch of people, and really ramp up development and product work and sales. In terms of sales, we should be in 50 schools in the new school year, which is pretty exciting. We're coming off of 3 pilots last year, so that's really great. And we have a couple of really great features coming down the pipe. We're going to have district level access, which is something a lot of the higher levels in the district wanted to see multiple schools. The parent portal is coming soon, which is actually very email focused, because that's how the parents use it. And our APIs are going to go public, so any developers can start coming in and start developing apps for us. Right now we're privately working with a couple of close developers that we're friendly, and once that's all nailed out and we have it seamless, that'll be public. Anyone can come on and build an app for Chalkable.
Wow.
I think we've been working for 2 years.
Yeah, but if you think about it, I mean, 2 years it's quick, and if you look at what some other companies have sort of struggled to do for 2 years, to bring a platform like this to fruition and have it be relatively mature already, and something that folks can just plug into and have actually work in a pretty snazzy way, not too bad. I think you guys are hitting it right at the right time, as everyone's trying to think about, their LMS. Do they want an LMS? Do they, they've got their SIS, which they can't get rid of, but can their SIS be more LMS-like? No, it sucks.
Right.
We're not getting rid of it. I mean, that's this is the time people are really starting to expect more from the teachers are demanding more, and as young teachers come on board, they share your same frustrations.
Okay.
I think this is the timing is outstanding for this. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Definitely keep us posted, because this is cool stuff.
We definitely will. And right now, if you want to go online to Chalkable, just click the demo button. You log into a demo school, and you can play around with the whole system. And sign up should be going live later today, so you can sign up and we start pulling in your student information system data, and you can be up and running within a couple hours or a day, depending on your
Wow. Excellent. Well, thank you again, and have a great day, and enjoy your time at Mountain View.
All right, no problem. Thanks a lot, Chris.